What is up, everybody? You are listening to Justin Millette, the host of the Real Alaska podcast. I am here with Emily and Mitch with EBO Consulting. What's up, guys? Welcome to the podcast.
Hi.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's kind of awesome to have you guys reach out through the gram. As we're trying to build our kind of like sphere of influence in the business community of just trying to get businesses on. And so thanks for reaching out and then coming on the show.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. So I know you guys sent me some information about your business, a little bit of backstory, but our listeners can't obviously see or read my emails. So if you guys want to give a little history behind, living here in Alaska, where you went to school.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sure. So I was not born here, but I was raised in Alaska. I came up in 1996. And I moved out to Bethel originally, which is, for those that don't know, it's about 400 air miles due west of Anchorage. So it's out in the middle of the Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta.
Yeah.
It's a very isolated rural place, very difficult to live in, but it's a wonderful community. And I grew and learned a lot there. Left Bethel in 2002 to go to university. I went to university in the UK. I went to King's College to get my bachelor's degree, and then I did a master's in business at another university within the City University of London. I tried to stay there. I had dreams of living in the big city and doing, I was actually hired as a graduate economist directly out of college, or out of grad school, excuse me.
That's kind of cool.
It was really interesting. I thought my dreams were going to come to fruition there. What
brought you to the UK?
Immediately after I graduated high school, I went on a little tour of Southeast Asia with some friends as a little treat to ourselves. And we just I actually ended up continuing to travel. So I took a little bit, what one might call a gap year. Mm-hmm. And at the very, very end of the trip, I ended up in the UK and just fell in love. I think I'd seen way too many romantic love stories of living in London and finding my soulmate. And it was really romanticized, and I kind of made it come to reality. And then again, tried to extend my stay and make it work. But my visa situation just didn't pan out. Right. And it's not uncommon. I mean, when you're not a resident, they just make it more difficult. So no criticism to it, but And then that brought me back into the States and then back up to Alaska in 2010. And then I met Mitch in 2011. And
Very
then
cool.
That is how we have crossed paths.
Yeah.
And then you.
So, Mitch, what's like from here? Grew up in Anchorage, Alaska area? Or?
Yeah, I grew up in Anchorage, over by kind of the Diamond High Bayshore area, but then I went to high school out in Palmer.
Okay.
Yeah, so kind of tell people I'm from Anchorage/Palmer. After high school, I just basically did part-time college, part-time work, bunch of different jobs. I like to bounce from one thing to another. That's, we'll probably get into this later, but that's, I think, one of my favorite things about what we do. So did all kinds of stuff, tree work, childcare, worked at the airport, took my time getting my college degree, I couldn't stay in class all day long, so I like to break things up like that. But
I feel like that's like the Alaskan way.
Yeah. There's just too much to do. I mean,
it's hunting season, man. I'm not gonna be in class.
Exactly. Yeah. Sorry, POW day.
That too. Especially with Gerwood so close. You're like, what do you mean they got 24 inches of snow?
Yeah. Oh, all of a sudden my throat's a little sore.
This beer sure tastes like I'm not going to class or work tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. But that's kind of, I don't know, not a lot of cool international travel like Emily, but I just kind of been around a little bit, spent some time in California for college, which was really cool. But yeah, that's kind of where I finally got my degree in 2010. And then that's right after that, I met Emily while I was working at a bar in town. Yeah,
well, that's cool.
Yeah,
it's quite the little story there.
Very romantic.
Yeah,
Sort of, I guess. I was the initiator, so that's always the funny story that I picked him up at the bar. Well, he wasn't even at the bar as a patron. I was, and he was working behind the bar as a bar back, and I he had a cute shirt on and a cute face.
Yeah.
So
Here we are.
I asked him for a drink, and here we are. How many years later? Yeah, it was quite a evolution, though. We didn't move rapidly, but fast enough to kind of transition me out of Bethel into Anchorage, and then we moved in together. And as they say, rest is history. But what really kind of evolved is us trying to find our footing as young professionals,
right.
And growing into our own and finding, living in our own home and setting all of that up. Really, I think, to help us mature enough to get to the point where we could work side by side in the business. Yeah. And that's really, really a cool thing. We matured side by side together. Yeah. We're about the same age, so it just kind of worked out really nicely. When we met, we wanted this kind of the same things and didn't want other certain things that I think a lot of couples at that age probably want.
Right.
We knew we wanted to get married, but kids wasn't really in our future. Right. And so it's nice. We found the right connection.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And of course, it's, what I find is just a lot of young professionals just, are trying to find their niche, right? Find something that they have a passion for and then get it started. So, because that's kind of where your guys' business comes in, right? Is helping people turn that idea, because there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there who have, amazing ideas, but not all of us, including myself, are really good at the paperwork and, business, accounting, taxes, getting things started side of it. It's like, there's a big disconnect between idea stage and implementation stage. And so finding someone to assist you who has a better understanding than you as a newbie to get you started is huge, and it's awesome. So go ahead and talk about kind of what you guys do. Yeah,
so I guess I'll give you a tiny backstory as to kind of how it evolved. So I used to work with, I worked with many nonprofits. That's kind of the heart and soul of what I've grown into as a manager and as a development expert has been within the nonprofit environment. And in my immediately previous role to EBO, I supported multiple areas within a special education nonprofit, and mostly our executive director was he's the person I supported most of the time. Right. So I would go in and talk to him on a daily basis and get, he'd have ideas and pitch me. And one day he gave me the worst idea for him, best idea for me was you should become an organizational consultant. You should help people get organized in their businesses and in their lives. And I said, that's a really good idea. And then 6 months later, I started the business.
Right.
With the intention of thinking I was going to kind of help people get their ducks in a row. Without much of I wasn't sure if I was going to physically do it by going into somebody's office space or whatever. It just kind of slowly evolved into, hey, I have a guy who has a business who needs somebody to help him get organized. But it didn't really have anything tangible at that point. I didn't really know how I was going to offer that organization. But with my first client being this amazing person, his name is Paul Gazensky. He's the owner and operator of Paul's Tree Service in town, which I'm sure many people have heard of. He I took him under my wing. He took me under his wing as my very first client and helped me to evolve my business by helping him evolve his. That led us into a place where we were able to provide more specific services to different sizes of businesses instead of just thinking we were going to help those starter businesses. I think we realized we had more to offer. And as I evolved with Paul, other kind of client needs started coming to play, and other people heard, and Instagram, other social media avenues, not crazy amounts of marketing, but just enough, a lot of referral, word of mouth. And I started growing a little bit, started finding the niche, started figuring out what made sense to me, what I was passionate about, and I slowly started talking to Mitch about the possibility of him coming on board. which at first was like, we can't do that. We need one person working in a corporate gig and one person not. Right. So it took a lot of just trying to, hey, what are you willing to not necessarily sacrifice, but like from a financial perspective and, the security of having benefits and all of that. So Mitch finally agreed to depart his previous role. He was working for Halliburton with Sperry Drilling here in town, and gained a lot of great experience and moved up the ladder a little bit, but it was pretty stagnant. I mean, he didn't have anywhere to go, and because of, as you said, he likes to do different things, the opportunity to work with pretty much any industry you possibly can imagine in our consulting world, really, at least I think it enticed you. I mean, I don't know what your thoughts are.
Yeah, that was, I mean, you say I didn't have much anywhere. There wasn't much of a place to go there. There was, but it was Houston, Texas.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, that's oil for you.
Yeah, I wasn't into that. So I was just kind of treading water here. And it was really interesting work. A lot of great people. Like she said, I got a lot of great experience. That was kind of my first office, management type job. Right. So I learned a lot of skills about just how to basically, I was a middle manager, so I was telling people about things I had no idea what was going on. I mean, it was some really high tech, really arcane science that I was involved in, and I was just the guy relaying the information from the experts to the customers. So I think that's technical management, doesn't mean you have to be an expert in anything. I mean, I have a degree in literature, so I'm not right. So I'm not,
no petro degree.
Exactly. But it was a good place to work. Like I said, good people. But I was in kind of one of those roles where you can't ever put leave the phone at home. You can't ever, I was going up to the slope every couple weeks, which was kind of cool, but it got to be annoying. And it was just kind of one of those, just constantly reacting to something totally outside of my control.
Yeah.
So
that and the frigid cold.
Yeah, I mean, they give you some pretty good gear, but it's still just like, give me a break up here.
70, 0. You're like, man, this is just not fun.
And I had a cushy job up there.
Right.
So, I mean, respect to people who actually have real jobs up there, got to get their hands on cold steel and stuff. But, that was, like I said, really good experience, but it really did take me a while to peel that Band-Aid off. I mean, there was a year where every day I would just come home and be like, oh, my God, what am I going to do? I can't. I felt kind of trapped. Yeah. But then it was really just a matter of finally, there wasn't really a needle that broke the camel's back. I guess I just
came to a happy medium, I think, one point. I just said I think my breaking point for him was saying, I didn't realize how miserable you were every day. Like you were waking up and going to your workplace and coming home and just kind of being chill, but not happy. I mean, I didn't pick up for like a good year that he was miserable, that it wasn't anything he was passionate about. He didn't have the drive to, not really the drive, but I think it was just the passion and knowing that he felt kind of stuck. So I think that's when I said, I was like, I didn't realize you were going through this. And he kind of went, oh gosh, I think that was a bit of a red flag that, I'm going through this. I'm actually going through this. And so Mitch was able to put in his resignation, and he gave them plenty of notice and was very courteous. And then came on board with EBO and has been an absolute godsend because I couldn't do this alone. This is all about our brain power, and having two brains is so much better than one.
Yeah.
Thank goodness for him.
Yeah. It's important,
It really is.
To have a secondary kind of perspective on things.
Yeah. That's kind of, not to jump ahead, but I feel like that's a lot of the value that we provide is people are looking at their business from within their business. And, a lot of times, I know maybe the word consultant can have kind of a negative connotation for a lot of people, but a lot of times it's just you get a little bit of outside perspective with somebody with different experience. It proves to be extremely valuable. I mean, we basically get that with every client that we have. Right. They they offer insights in talking about their businesses that we have learned incredible lessons from, and apply to our own practices. So it's a very positive feedback loop for the most part. Yeah,
absolutely. I think such a big part of what we do is community minded as well, which is kind of why I reached out to you in the first place was, here's a podcast you kind of mentioned about, we're featuring local businesses, X, Y, and Z. I thought, well, a great opportunity for me to reach out and refer potential podcast folks to this individual. And it just seemed like a really easy thing to get involved in and engage with without having to transact anything. It was just, I thought that was a really nice thing. And so then I learned more about what you were actually putting onto the podcast. And I said, we'll do it. Sure, that sounds amazing. But those are the things that drive us. Those are the things that make us do what we do. I mean, without all of this, it's just, filling out an application and somebody paying you to do that, or, building a business plan and handing it over and saying, thank you, have a good day.
Right.
And that's super important. But, and we do a lot of transactional work, but we do it with heart and passion and because we care, and we don't want to see people fail. We want to see people succeed. And it's hard. I mean, we know it's very, very challenging. I don't know how deeply you'd like me to get into the challenges of small business ownership, but I'm happy to.
Yeah. I mean, having been there myself, it's challenging, right? And sometimes, you get to like a step, right? Or you have to file something or whatever. And then you're like, what's next? Right. And I mean, as a first time business owner, I'm like, I don't know. Right. Like, I have no idea what to expect next. Like, totally understand where Mitch was coming from as far as finding, leaving a job that, you have a salary, benefits, all that kind of stuff, and going into kind of that unknown space, I started a business as well. So moving into that area where it's kind of like an abyss of not knowing where your next paycheck is going to be. Right.
Yeah.
And so I think that's going to be a little mentally challenging for a lot of people.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's kind of tough to just tell people to take that dive, especially now there's a lot of precarity, and, obviously I'm glad I did, but you kind of you trade, it's a trade-off, because one of the things I didn't like about my last job was that I was always on, I was basically 24 hours just waiting for the phone to ring for, some little fire I had to put out. Less of that now, but it's still, we're always on. Occasionally we'll have a client who likes to do things in the evenings, or people who have full-time jobs that are trying to transition. So you got to adapt to, and you got to adapt to the small business world, which is any kind of business, any kind of person, any kind of schedule. It's very exciting.
It is. It's interesting.
For better or for worse.
It really is. It's just it has opened so many doors and exposed us to so many different people and different backgrounds, and we've learned so much about so many different industries. We have dipped into the art world. We've dipped into beauty and wellness, healthcare, professional services, real estate, finance. It's just been such a wide array, and we couldn't be more grateful because that makes us who we are and helps us evolve and grow. And it's just been such an interesting journey, but it has been very, very scary and intimidating to not have the consistent payroll and the income, but you do you just have to end up sacrificing things and making sure that this is what you want out of your professional existence. But I think that together we've made it work, and we've just been really patient with each other and patient with the business. But when I initially started it was more focused on the organizational concept of things versus proactively, developing business plans and providing, policy and procedure guidance and stuff like that. So we've certainly seen an evolution. When COVID hit, we kind of stopped doing pretty much everything for a couple months, and we pro bonoed a bunch of application support for small businesses that were trying to get COVID loans.
Oh, yeah.
So there were the EIDL and the
SBA funding.
the PPP stuff. And so that was, people were really scared, and we're good at we're good at online stuff. We know how to find the resources. And we were able to help. I think it ended up being over $200,000 in funding for local, for about 10 small local businesses.
That's awesome.
And so, we're really proud of that. We actually were able to report the data to the Alaska Small Business Development Center. So that's part of their records. And it just, beyond feeling good that we did that, it helped a lot of people stay afloat. And so, at one point we were getting into like our third month of helping out, and we were finally able to start kind of billing back and figuring out how to quote people pricing for other services we provide without being overwhelming and saying like, I know you probably don't have a lot of cash flow right now, but here's what we can offer. So I think that in a way helped us evolve as very customizable consultants. Like everything that we do is customized. If you said to me tomorrow, like, I want X, Y, and Z, I need to sit down and we would need to assess what kind of hourly input that would take, and not just saying like, here's our hourly rate. You know, we have to accommodate everybody's story, everybody's journey, and everybody's a little bit different. And for one person, they might be able to accommodate a larger project and maybe a larger investment. Somebody's budget might be smaller. I wouldn't say don't contact us at all. I think we can accommodate. We'll work with people. And that's really why we kind of came up with the whole tagline of EBO, like efficient, balanced, and organized, is built beyond, making sure people feel like this is a balanced and fair organization. We don't discriminate. We want to make sure everybody has an opportunity to at least talk to us. I mean, Mitch touched on something earlier about the joy of having another person to talk to. And such a big part of what we do is just having a phone call with somebody and them saying, I can't understand this, or what do you think about this? And that's been actually, we really love to do that, have those conversations, don't we?
Yeah. At
least I do.
If I could just sit all day and just listen to people tell me about what they want or how they started their business, that would be ideal. Unfortunately, we have to get into the nitty gritty. There's work to be done if you want to start a business and you want to start making money. But, I just, like I mentioned earlier, I've got that ADD. I don't like to stick with anything for too long. So this is really perfect. And just learning a little bit about, like you said, a lot of different industries, learning a little bit about what people do and what they want, and helping them get on their way. And if they want to keep us around on a retainer of some kind, we're available for that. But what we like to do is just give people the tools to run their business efficiently and focus on what they actually want to spend their time doing.
And obviously doing that pro bono work, having like consults and just answering phone calls, provides a ton of value to businesses. And it's kind of what we run our business on, right? Is a lot of services that we don't always charge for, but it's just providing some kind of value proposition to people, right? And really kind of just being the expert in that area,
Absolutely.
And I think that's important. So
absolutely.
Well, that's you're putting that value out there, even if you're not getting paid for an initial discovery call. People appreciate the perspective, and it does come back. We believe in that for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've both come into EBO consulting with strong skill sets and unique skill sets. I think that Mitch is our CEO, and he is the more the front person that deals with those initial consultation calls, and he's the interviewer, and he gets into the way people are thinking because he just has that brain for it. And I'm much more of the nerd data entry and sitting back and, designing templates and getting forms and applications in. And it's just different skill sets that mesh perfectly. And without that, I mean, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. But it definitely, I think what it does to our clients is it's kind of a 2-for-1 deal.
Right.
You get like 2 for the price of 1. So I think that's a really nice benefit. And it, I don't know, we commit to being as responsive as possible.
Right.
And I think that is also a really strong benefit to working with us, and what we can like truly feature to the public is you want somebody who is going to respond to your text, call, or email. You've found the right team.
Yeah.
And that's a problem. I don't know if you guys have that issue,
man.
but
Communication sometimes is just challenging.
it's crazy.
It's a lot of our time just chasing people down.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't hear back, but you got to at least make the effort,
Right. Yeah.
Put the ball in their court. If nothing else, then
yeah. We when we deal with that all the time, and it's like, as long as the communication failure is not on our end, right? We can be like, hey, man, we followed up with text, phone calls, email. Yeah. If there's a breakdown, it's not on our end, right? And we could show you, but it is kind of just weird to see.
It really is. It's especially I came into this world, into the professional realm of business in general,
right,
very, very young, because I was working with my stepdad out in Bethel for a vehicle rental business. And I was his office manager. And he has since passed away. He passed away about 3 years ago. But during his time managing, running, operating, owning this business, that man never let his cell phone anywhere but like a foot from his body. It was always on him. And now, granted, it was kind of that like pretty much 24-hour thing where somebody wanted to drop a vehicle off or wanted to come in, or was arriving from the airport. It just blew my mind and would irritate my mom, and but it instilled in me the importance of being available, not 24/7. I mean, depending on your line of work, of course, but there has to be presence, and you have to be responsive, and you have to want to be responsive. Right. I understand that this line of work requires interacting with other people, so you just have to be willing to do that and be passionate about the people you're providing service to. And every single day that David would go into the office space, he was welcoming people of all walks of life, and he did it with a smile. And, that really resonated with me and instilled in, I think, everything I do, the way I run this business, the way we work together, the way we help our clients grew from him, 100%. So I'm really grateful for that. I mean, fortunately, Mitch had an opportunity to spend some time with him as well. So I think I'm sure he rubbed off on you too. He was quite the guy.
We both come from business owner kind of families, and one thing that I learned from my parents started a successful general contracting business, and one thing that they really impressed upon us was taking care of the people that you work with, investing 100%. In the right people that you work with, and I think that a lot of times people can hear. If you hear your boss say, "Oh, I've hired a consultant," oh boy, somebody's coming in and just going to start firing everybody and selling all of our equipment and blah 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 blah. And that is absolutely not the way we do things. We like to take what people have and build that up, help them maximize what they have, so that they can either reach that sustainable level, that comfortable level, or they can grow and provide more jobs or more opportunities, more business into the community. We're not bottom line kind of obsessive consultants. I mean, ultimately everybody's got their eye on that, but it's really about working the things that affect that bottom line instead of, sometimes you got to start further away from it and work towards it instead of just saying, okay, how do we just, decrease these expenses? Oh, labor. Oh, sorry guys. Go find another job. It's like, no, man, those people, that's what your business is the people that,
100%.
The people that do your work for you. So,
and I have figured out, just talking to different business owners and myself, is, it's just, I find that, business owners go into business because they love doing something.
Right.
Usually, like we talked about, it's not the back end paperwork, organization, proficiency, data tracking, analytics part of it. And so, I mean, I'm guessing probably a big part of what you guys do is just finding those proficiencies, dialing in systems to optimize things.
Exactly.
Automate things, right?
Yep.
So you're not dealing with, receipt boxes and all this other stuff, right? Like
100%.
cup holder, receipt drawers, or the the
You'd be
door.
surprised.
Oh,
Yeah, I was
yes,
gonna
I
say-
know. I'm like, I've been there.
some of the I guess contacts that we get, or people that are requesting our services or inquiring about our services, they are fairly well established businesses, but you get a peek under the hood and it's like, man, how has this been going on for so long?
Right.
Yep.
And it's pretty amazing what's not being measured, what's not being managed.
Crazy.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I can't go into any details, but it's a huge part of what we do. That's very rewarding when somebody says like, oh well, I didn't think about actually tracking how many hours I'm bidding this job at versus how many it takes.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's like, oh well, I mean, that's kind of the essence of what you need to be doing here. It's like, well, I just like to sell the work and then do the work. It's like,
Right.
well, yeah.
And that's where we step in,
Yeah.
then we can kind of build a relationship with somebody to create that balance so that they can continue to, do the podcast and run the sound and do the things that they really want to do. I know we've mentioned that before. And I think the services that we ultimately offer, so they kind of get into that just a little bit. They fall under 4 divisions. So we have our Engage management solutions. We have our build restructuring solutions, and then we have our administrative and operational services fall under our Optimize program. So we have those 4 main ones, and then our notary division provides notary services, mobile notary services, both as loan signing agents and as just general notary publics, which we're both certified to do.
Yeah.
So those are the 4 areas, and within each of those, we have specific service provision that's not vague. It's pretty specific, but it can be adapted. Right. So, for example, within the build division, we offer policy and procedure development. So, say you have a relatively established entity, 2 to 3 years old, and they've been operating without a handbook, and they have no process in place for doing their accounting, for example. So maybe we need to develop a finance policy and procedure manual, and that would entail Mitch doing interviews and figuring out what they have, doing a process mapping journey with them, the as-is situation, and then doing, the after the fact, here's what we can do for you, or here's what we recommend. And again, it doesn't mean an output. It doesn't mean here's a report. It could literally just mean you calling in and having a conversation and asking us some questions.
Right.
Those consultations are always free. Resources obviously take time and money.
Right.
So that's a little bit of a different thing. But for quick questions, I mean, we often do get emails and calls and texts for just very quick, like, hey, this, that, and the other. I mean, if we were billing for that, I wouldn't be in business. That's not the way we do things. So we like that, to be able to do quick turnarounds and things for people, because it's frustrating. I mean, you've been there, I'm sure, middle of the day, needing a notary or needing something that just isn't there. And so I always find, like, every job I've ever been in prior to EBO, everybody has always done, ask Emily.
Right.
Ask Emily, she'll find it, And so I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm resourceful and I can figure things out. I'm a problem solver. But I think it's now kind of evolved into EBO in the sense, like, we kind of do a lot.
Right.
It's really hard to say no unless we know specifically, like, maybe it's a little bit outside of our wheelhouse, for example, but not too much. So, so it's, just always adaptive.
Yeah.
Got to be adaptive.
Yeah, have to be adaptive. And I'm sure, as with Mitch, if you're doing the interviewing with business owners, one of the biggest struggles I found myself was trying to take an idea or what I want done and turn that into a conversation of what that actually sounds like in the business world. You know, like, I think I need this. And you're like, what? And so, and so like the accountants or CPA or whoever, they have to ask a lot of questions like, okay, we need like a full backstory of what you have going, and that takes time.
It does. That's kind of, that can be a tough sell, a lot, because like she mentioned with the process mapping, it's like, okay, when you show up, where do you, what's the first box you open? What tool do you use to open that box?
Right.
Where is that tool located? How long does it take you to get, it can get, it honestly should get as detailed as possible, but a lot of times people that deal with this stuff every day or they're managing it every day, it lives in their heads and it's so automatic that they don't realize that in order to, really, build it up in a different way, it has to be, every piece of that has to be identified and sort of, mapped out, like literally, you create a little flow chart or whatever they want. And then from there you can start to get into the more exciting, like, okay, this is how you improve that. Okay. You can, walk down that hall instead of that one and it'll save you some time, whatever, for a not very great example, but, like you mentioned, people have ideas for how they want things to look, and getting that implemented, it takes a lot of backing up, to see what's already there, what exactly needs to be done. So it's time consuming. It can be very tedious. I personally find it very rewarding. I like to get people thinking about things that, maybe they haven't thought of those details, and you can see light bulbs going off sometimes, and it's pretty rewarding.
That's probably the one thing that, not to be all whimsical, but it is. It's a really rewarding world. It's not like, we touched on challenges that we experience, as you can relate to, but every day we wake up, we try not to hustle ourselves. We're not like, I really don't like to think about the hustle concept. I think it's more putting quality time and energy and being commitment and putting the commitment in, being consistent, and really wanting to do it as well. Like, we talk about the boring things. We like to do those things. I sit there with, our notary paperwork, and it's a big process for me, and I love it because I'm a very detail-oriented, very precise person, so it helps me to nurture that need. So it's great. Everything we do with I think passion and commitment, and we make sure that anything we deliver to our clients is as near perfect as it possibly can be. Right. And that's a really critical thing I like to emphasize to people when talking about EBO is we're small, but we don't really feel it. We bring a lot to the table that I think, you can get materials and resources and ideas and suggestions and recommendations from us that you'd probably seek out from somebody with, a much larger consulting team.
Right.
So, I mean, not to toot our own horns, but it definitely feels like we've grown and evolved quite a lot to be able to provide the services that we do. And, it's very, very rewarding. And who knows where it's going to take us.
Especially having a small business, being local, because I keep relating back to myself because I'm only a few years in business here, but without resources locally, your only other option is the internet. Mm-hmm. And that is a vast chasm of sometimes just utter bull, So, or stuff that just doesn't even apply to your business.
Oh, yeah.
You could sit there on Google and YouTube for days of all these opinions, and it may not apply to your business whatsoever.
Sure.
Right. So having local knowledge, local resources, and an application that actually is going to benefit your business is going to be massive, right? Because there's all kinds of stuff online that's trying to sell you everything under the sun.
Yeah.
That's a waste of money.
And you're just going to end up having to fix it anyway.
Right.
You think you're going to get a free form online, a free application, and you have to take it and tweak it anyway, it's still going to take time. I mean, and it's not going to, there's always going to be a hurdle and a challenge. And I think being able to say that, hey, we can help you with those very practical compliance-related regulatory things that just are pretty concrete. Yeah. And that prevents them from going down those online paths and getting really, really lost and getting the wrong information. I mean, I had a client call me and say that their CPA told them something that was completely untrue. And I couldn't even, I was like, I'm not a trained CPA, but how did they not? I mean, it wasn't even, it just really blew my mind. But it's things like that. You know, we definitely try to stay up to date on trends and research, and we do a lot of research. We spend a lot of time figuring things out because, I mean, that's the nature of the beast. Right. But again, it's all in what we love and how we deliver it, and we've been able to support a lot of people and see them grow. Right. Which is awesome. Yeah.
Well, is there anything you guys want to share specifically on like a quick plug of EBO?
EBO, we are available. We are actually not at capacity at the moment. So as far as this year is concerned, we are open to new clients. You can reach us online, www.eboconsultinginc.com. We're also on Facebook. We're on Instagram, LinkedIn. We have on our website, there's a really good interview that I did with .com magazine that goes into a lot of detail about EBO as well, similar to this conversation. Yeah. And we've been doing this for a while. We're really grateful to be part of the small business community in Alaska. We're doers. We're not just talkers. And I think that differentiates us from a lot of people. People ask us sometimes what the difference is between us and like the AKSBDC, the Small Business Development Center. And again, I always say that they're, talk the talk, we walk the walk, because they can provide a lot of resources and we can actually implement those resources for you. Right. And so I hope that encourages people who are maybe feeling little struggle or challenge within their business and getting to a new hurdle. They can reach out to us and know that, we know what we're doing. We're going to do it for a good price, and we're local, and we have your best interest in mind. So that's EBO for you. Emily Berliner and Mitch Laird. We're trying to do what we can do and do it the best we can do it.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, and just if anybody out there listening has just any kind of little spark of an idea, pipe dream, little business idea that's, been nagging at you, you don't know what to do with it, just send us an email or give us a call. I got to be honest here. We honestly don't answer our phone for the most part. When somebody calls with a number that's usually ends up being spam. Right. So leave us a voicemail and we will call you back. Right.
Or you can text.
A text message works really well too. But we will get in touch with you. And even if it doesn't end up going anywhere or it's not ready for a full launch yet, we love to see what you're up to and point you in the right direction if we can. And we just love hearing those new ideas. And honestly, there's a lot out there that we wish other people were doing, some opportunities and some stuff we'd like to see. And it's, so hit us up.
Consultations are free. You can call us anytime. Mm-hmm. We're not, we definitely take care of people and make sure that we work with what is available to you. So don't hesitate just to even have that quick conversation. And we love chatting to new people, and those that are serious, you know how to get in touch with us. You will find us, and like I said, we try to be as responsive as possible. So we do encourage people to reach out, and if you ever want to know more about how we deliver our services, we can explain that in more detail, or you can also contact any of our current clients or former clients, Paul's Tree Service being one of them. We have a great client, Aurora Creative Learning Solutions. She's a digital instruction designer here in town. Beauty Culture Alaska's where I get my eyebrows done. So that's another really fantastic client of ours. Anyway, it's just, there's a variety of people. And as I said earlier, every industry matters. Every industry counts, no matter how large or small. But we're here for each and every one of those business owners who has hit a hurdle or is looking to change things up and get to the next level.
Awesome.
Yep.
Well, thanks, guys, for coming on.
Thank you. Thanks for having
us. For being part of the small business culture here in Alaska.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah,
Thanks so
absolutely.
much.
All right, guys, we will see you on the next one.